The day does not begin with gunfire. It begins with movement. Slow, deliberate movement through a land that has forgotten the memory of peace. We drift over a European field, frozen and scarred by the wounds of war. Shell craters pockmark the earth like open sores. Twisted barbed wire clings to the frost, a thorny crown on a broken landscape. The remains of abandoned positions stand like skeletal warnings against the pale sky. In the distance, silhouettes emerge from the morning mist. American soldiers advancing in a tight, disciplined formation. Their boots crunch softly against the frozen ground, the only sound in a world holding its breath. Their weapons are ready, but it's their eyes that are truly sharp, scanning the horizon for a threat that is felt more than seen. The air is thick with anticipation, a heavy weight that presses against the chest and makes each breath a conscious effort. Above, the clouds hang low and heavy, a gray ceiling over the world. But along the horizon, a pale light begins to creep, a fragile promise of dawn. Dawn is coming, whether the world is ready for it or not. A voice enters, quiet and steady, as if spoken by history itself. It tells of a time when fear spread faster than hope, when entire nations were forced into silence, their voices stolen by tyranny. It speaks of a moment in time when standing still was no longer an option, when the cost of inaction became greater than the risk of action. As the soldiers move forward, the camera finds their faces. They are young, yet their expressions are weathered far beyond their years, etched with the lines of sleepless nights and unspoken losses. These were not men born for war. They were farmers, mechanics, students, sons. Yet here they are, carrying its immense weight with a quiet, unyielding resolve. Each step they take is an act of defiance against the darkness. Each beat of their hearts is a promise made to the men beside them, a silent pact of brotherhood forged in the crucible of conflict. The sound of the wind, whispering through the broken trees, dissolves into the faint crackling hum of an old radio. Suddenly, the battlefield feels a world away. We are inside a small American living room, the curtains drawn tight against the outside world, the lights dimmed low. A family sits in silence, their attention captured by a news broadcast that fills the quiet space with reports from across the ocean. The war is not just over there. It is right here, in this room. A teenage girl grips a folded newspaper, her brother's smiling photograph printed beside the stark, chilling words, "Missing in action." Her father stares straight ahead, his jaw clenched in a mask of stoic grief, while her mother presses her hands together, her lips moving in a silent, desperate prayer. Outside, the streets are calm, the picture of normalcy. But inside millions of homes just like this one, across the entire nation, the war is a deeply personal, intimate reality. America listens. America waits. America endures. The pace accelerates. The quiet tension of the home front erupts into the thunderous rhythm of industry. Steel pounds against steel as factories, once dormant, roar to life. Conveyor belts move in an endless, unceasing river of production. Showers of sparks light up the factory floor as the wings of aircraft take shape and the thick armor of tanks is welded into place. Here, women work shoulder to shoulder, their faces smudged with grease, their eyes focused with a fierce, unwavering determination. There is no hesitation in their movements, no doubt in their purpose. They know why they are here. Every bolt they tighten, every engine they test, every crate they seal and send on its way carries a single, unified purpose: to protect the men who will soon stand in the line of fire, to give them the tools they need to survive, to win, and to come home. Freedom, we are reminded, is never an accident. It is not a gift. It is built, piece by piece, rivet by rivet, by the hands of those willing to sacrifice their comfort for their conviction. Training grounds stretch across vast, muddy fields under a relentless, unforgiving rain. Soldiers crawl through the muck. They run until their lungs burn. They fall, and they rise again. Orders echo through the damp air, repeated over and over until they become instinct, until thought is replaced by action. Among the ranks is a young man named Daniel Harris. He's barely 20, his uniform soaked through, his muscles screaming in protest. Before the war, he was a mechanic, his hands skilled at fixing engines. Now, he is learning to move under fire, to anticipate the scream of an incoming shell, to trust the men beside him with his very life. At night, in the cramped, crowded barracks filled with the heavy air of exhaustion, the men talk in low, hushed voices. They speak of home, of the familiar streets and faces, of the small, simple moments they may never see again. Daniel listens, absorbing every word, every story, every shared fear and hope. When someone asks if he's afraid, he nods once, a simple, honest admission. Then he adds that fear isn't what stops you. What stops you, what truly defeats you, he says, is doing nothing. The ocean crossing feels endless, a journey through a void of time and space. Giant waves crash against the steel hulls of the transport ships as they push relentlessly forward. Through the immense darkness, the sea is a black, churning mystery. Some soldiers clutch letters from home, reading the familiar handwriting by the dim light of a shielded lamp. Others just stare out into the black water, their thoughts lost in the deep, imagining what waits for them on the other side. When land finally appears on the horizon, a faint, gray smudge against the sky, there is no celebration. There are no cheers. Only a profound, collective silence settles over the decks. Helmets are adjusted. Weapons are checked and rechecked. The immense weight of what comes next, of the moment they have been training for, settles over them all like a thick, suffocating fog. The battle erupts without warning, without mercy. The world explodes into a symphony of noise and chaos. The air is ripped apart by the constant chatter of gunfire. The ground trembles and shakes beneath the concussive force of artillery strikes. Men move forward because turning back is no longer an option. It's an impossibility. Daniel runs through the choking smoke and flying debris, his training kicking in. He sees a fellow soldier fall and, without a second thought, he pulls the wounded man to the relative safety of a crater, just as a spray of bullets tears through the space they occupied moments before. Tanks, like great steel beasts, surge past them, unstoppable and relentless. Above the chaos, American aircraft roar through the sky, cutting through the clouds like a blade, bringing fire and support from above. The camera pulls upward, rising high above the fray, revealing the vast, sprawling canvas of the battlefield and the terrible bloody cost being paid for every inch of ground gained. Inside a field hospital, time stretches and thins, becoming almost meaningless. The air is thick with the smell of antiseptic and the low moans of the wounded. Men lie shoulder to shoulder on rows of cots. Nurses move quickly and efficiently between them, their hands steady, their faces masks of calm professionalism despite the bone-deep exhaustion etched in their eyes. Daniel sits quietly as a medic binds his leg, the sharp sting of the wound a dull ache now. He is told he will recover. He nods, but his gaze drifts across the rows of cots around him. Recovery, he realizes, feels like a privilege, a stroke of luck that not everyone here will receive. Then, slowly, the noise of war begins to fade. The smoke starts to lift from the shattered landscape. A city, battered but not broken, begins to breathe again. Civilians emerge cautiously from the dark doorways of cellars and bombed-out buildings. Their eyes, wide with a mixture of fear and hope, search the faces of the soldiers, looking for answers, for reassurance. A woman presses her hand to her chest, a sob of relief escaping her lips. A small child, peeking from behind his mother's skirt, waves timidly. Daniel takes off his helmet and kneels down, offering it to a small boy who has approached him. The boy reaches out a hesitant hand and touches the cool, scratched metal. Then he smiles, a wide, unguarded smile that lights up his smudged face. In that one small human moment, the war feels distant, even if only for a brief, precious instant. The final image is simple and still. A group of American soldiers stands together on a ridge, overlooking the land they helped to free. The sun is rising fully now, casting a warm, golden light across a world that is scarred but undeniably alive. The American flag, planted firmly in the soil, waves gently in the morning wind. No one speaks. They don't need to. Their presence says everything. The voice returns one last time, calm and resolute, a quiet reflection on the price of freedom. It reminds us that courage is not always loud, that unity is never easy, and that history, our shared story, is shaped not by chance, but by those who choose to step forward when it matters most. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories that honor our past.